According to the news, heavy metal is all alcohol, drugs and violence, which has led to its rejection from the mainstream. But is heavy metal really all it's made out to be? My first point of call was to see Andy, a heavy metal fan who grew up in the height of its popularity throughout the 70s and 80s. He explained to me what the scene was like.
There was always beer and a few drugs involved. It was the excess that they did. It did get out of hand in a lot of ways with drink and drugs and things, and they were seen as the bad boys. I don't think you're allowed to be bad anymore. I don't think if you seem to take drugs and have floozy parties and all the rest of it, you can't.
You go for a time.
You can't do that anymore. Do you know what I mean? I think it has gone a little bit underground. Everything's so clean now, isn't it? Everything's clean. There's nothing wrong with getting a bit dirty, naughty. I don't think a lot of the bands can do it because of the exposure. People on the mobile phones, they capture everything, and I think there's a lot of risk involved. A lot of things went behind closed doors.
Andy seemed to think the genre had been forced underground by modern day society, so that's where I searched. I came across Revolution Festival, a full day of rock and heavy metal, not far from where I live in Manchester. I was able to film there, but I couldn't help but feel anxious and nervous about the day ahead. Although when I got there, I found out how wrong I was, and what a day it turned out to be. Band after band played, each one as exciting as the last. I found myself enthralled by it all. This left me wanting to know more, so I interviewed a few bands that were playing.
You're about to tell me that you love me because you looked into my eyes. You're only human, you know what I mean?
I'm Matt, play bass in Battalions.
I'm also Matt, and I play bass in Battalions.
Drums.
Oh yeah, it's drums, isn't it? Yeah, I play drums.
Given its history, I was interested to know whether people were accepting of them in their day-to-day lives.
Tattoos all over. I've got a staffy and a Rottweiler. I'm walking them down the street and people cross the street to avoid me. Whereas I'm soft as shit, my dogs are as soft as shit, but people still avoid us.
No, I mean, when I was at school, there was only a couple of us that was into heavy metal at the time, and it was quite like a brotherhood, and you find that wherever you go. We've come here today, we've drove 2 hours, and we pretty much know everyone, and we probably haven't seen a lot of people for months on end, and we just bump into each other at gigs, and you just know that you rate, and it's dead good. It's a proper brotherhood.
Real good, close-knit community of people, and even if outsiders come in, they're welcomed in,
The scene clearly gives these guys a place in society, and I was intrigued as to whether this went further and helped them in a deeper way.
I quite suffer greatly with anxiety, quite severely.
He's not fucking joking, are we? We suffer with his anxiety too. It's true.
Yeah, which is, it's a blessing and a curse.
But don't get anxious about it.
No, I'm alright. But yeah, it's a great release, because anyone with anxiety knows that to do something, you need to get it out of your system, and for me it's, some people that go and do a load of drugs, do a load of beer. I mean, I do a load of drugs and beer and play bass, so that'll do me. It helps greatly.
I've suffered with my own problems. I've had a lot of problems with shit like that, mental health. I suffer with attention deficit disorder, learning difficulty, suffered with a lot of shit like that. And for me, all this shit is what gets me through it.
It was fascinating to hear how heavy metal had helped people with their mental health, and it became apparent that the scene was not all drugs and partying like I'd heard, but in fact, It was a community like any other, and even further, one that does a lot of good. I still felt like there was something missing. I wanted to dig deeper and see what happens behind the scenes. I arranged to meet Danny, the organiser of Revolution Festival, to watch his band Ritual King practice. I met him at their practice studios in Manchester to get an insight into a typical practice session, and I thought I'd see more of the drugs and partying the scene was famous for. I was blown away by the seriousness of the band. The practice went on for over 4 hours, and it became clear that this was more than just a hobby. A few days later, Witch Tripper, one of the bands I interviewed at Revolution Festival, released a single from their upcoming album. It was obvious from listening that the song had a deeper meaning. This made me want to know more about the album and about themselves. So after a rainy drive down the M1, I arrived in Mansfield to watch the guys practice.
Oh, don't tease me.
After watching another dedicated practice, I interviewed the band. Unfortunately, staff had to rush home, but a special someone filled in.
This is Sadie. I'm Maiden of Eddie, and we have Sadie. And she's basically our spiritual leader and brains behind the art.
She makes all the decisions, books all gigs.
You know them old World War II films where they have map on table and they like push fucking battleships around on sticks? Like that. She does all that in there. You can't go in there because it's fucking secret. And she like controls every band in country, and this is all part of her master plan.
I was intrigued to know more about the band, so I asked how they met.
I was having drum lessons in that room there.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, so Jimmy used to come to my music school years ago, didn't you?
I've been sitting on this set since I was 9 years old.
Yeah. So he was like metal from fucking age 8 or something. You know, I used to see him coming here with his like Anthrax t-shirt on. And we're like, all right, mate. He's got his like stick-on tattoos on him, man. You know what I mean?
How's it? Stick-on tattoos.
This is when he was about 17.
I never had stick-on tattoos,
Yeah,
bro. Tell you now. Let the record.
After hearing about Jimmy's stick-on tattoos, I was eager to hear more about their upcoming album.
It's called Eye at Storm, and it's about loads of different. I mean, I'd swear on this. Yeah, for sure. That was good restraint, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm proud.
Loads of different stuff. So there's like songs on there about personal experience, loves and losses. Hellbound, I wrote that. That's about a couple of different things, to be honest. But I wrote that about my mum and dad passing, which is 2 years ago now. So I should stop fucking moaning about it, shouldn't I, really? But it's about basically, because that was one of the first songs we wrote as well, especially for me lyrically. Going off the edge a bit, you know, when you're faced with something like that. Everyone telling you it's going to get better and all that, but it doesn't, not for a long while.
I was shocked to hear just how meaningful the album was, but it made sense, as after I interviewed them last time, Rich said to me off camera that if it wasn't for the scene, he'd be dead. I wanted to know exactly what he meant by that.
I can't believe I missed this interview.
Oh yeah, bud. You miss loads of shit. Sometimes we do gigs without you. I'll tell you what it is though. It is fucking having a bit of fucking meaning to your life, I think.
Bit of purpose.
Yeah.
It became clear that the scene meant a lot to the band, and as they put a lot of work into their upcoming album, I wanted to know more about what they were thinking about the album release show.
It's the one I'm most, for me, like, nervous for. I really hope people come to that one. You know what I mean? Because it's our album launch.
It was obvious they were excited but anxious about the show. So after a couple of weeks of preparation, it was time for the gig. The turnout was amazing and the guys responded with one hell of a performance.
It's not always real. I play a part, it gives me what I need. So cut me loose and let me fly. I wanna know how to be alive. Put out your hand, you're not out of reach. I'll take you with me to the place we both need. And don't you worry, we ain't out of town. Come on and dance, the world's gonna set us alight.
After what was an unbelievable night of fantastic riffs, endless friendships and sheer passion, it was time to go home. I left the venue feeling like a close friend of the band and everyone there. This left me to reflect on the journey I'd been on. From believing the horror stories of the past and not knowing anything about the genre, to feeling like part of the community. It appeared to me that heavy metal no longer had the newsworthy horror story headlines, but in fact, the community and the genre does a lot of good. One thing is definitely for sure: heavy metal is not dead.